What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Joe Biden's dementia-fueled delusions continue as the not former president, actually he's still the current president, reportedly, he soon will be former president in about 3 more weeks. But President Joe Biden reportedly regrets his decision to withdraw from the presidential race, claiming he could have triumphed over Donald Trump in the election. According to sources within the White House, Biden has expressed frustration with his choice, believing his leadership and policies would have swayed voters who ultimately supported Trump. Biden's political career has been defined by resilience, but this revelation adds a layer of intrigue to his legacy. While he has not made public comments about these claims, insiders suggest the regret stems from his confidence in his ability to unite the country and address key voter concerns. I had to cover his face with this one. This is a delusional old man at this point, man. And I don't usually talk like that about older people, but I mean, that's what he literally is, a delusional old man. Much of the reason why Kamala Harris lost, according to exit polling, because let's not get it twisted. Donald Trump was still, even though this was a favorable environment for him to run, he was still a very flawed presidential candidate. While he clearly has this legion of supporters, 77 million people voted for him. Let's not forget that still, I think it was 48.4% of voters voted for Kamala Harris versus 49.8% for him. So his margin of victory in the popular vote is still, although people like to use the term landslide because of the tremendous polarization that we're in today's political climate, this was still the third smallest margin of victory for a presidential candidate. As far as the popular vote, since 1888, only John F. Kennedy in 1960 and Richard Nixon in 1968 had smaller popular vote victories. And that's for the candidate that won. We know Al Gore won by 550,000 or 540,000 votes, but he lost the election. Joe Biden would not have won. Okay, we already saw how back in July when he dropped out, we already saw the reports that their own internal polling was showing him losing in a 400 electoral vote landslide. Even if you take into account some narrowing in the polling as the election day approached, right? I don't see him in any way, shape, or form beating Donald Trump. I mean, think about this. This is a president that is so fatigued and sapped by age that his administration only had 9 cabinet meetings in their single term compared to Donald Trump's 25, right? Reports are that this guy really can't function before 10 a.m. and has trouble functioning after 4 p.m. Now, imagine that coupled with the strain of a presidential campaign. This is a guy that was barely awake, admitted that he was barely awake during his June 27th debate. The most energetic and refreshed I've heard Joe Biden was post-election. He sounded almost like the old Joe Biden. Why? Because he's getting so much goddamn rest and relaxation. He's chilling. But the more strain you put on this guy, the more his age shows, the fatigue shows, the voice gets weak, and the gaffes. He's always been a guy prone to gaffes anyway. Then it gets to the point where, I mean, it's been an absolute disaster. As bad as Kamala Harris was, Joe Biden would have been worse because, number one, he's naturally attached even closer to the administration. Donald Trump is tailor-made to go after Joe Biden in this situation. His whole campaign was geared toward going after Joe Biden. That whole period of time of adjustment from August into September, we didn't see the turnaround until the vice presidential debate. That's when Trump was floundering because his campaign, this whole run, this election cycle was geared to go after Joe Biden. And let's just talk about something else too. Even in 2020, when Joe Biden beat Donald Trump, right? We had, at that point in time, we were going through a horrible pandemic, the worst global pandemic since the pandemic of the 1919 Spanish flu influenza, right? Influenza pandemic. The worst economic collapse in this country since the Great Depression. We had tremendous racial strife in this country at that time. Despite that, and despite the fact that Biden won by something like 7 million votes, right, nationally, despite all of that, a switch of just 55,000 votes over 4 states combined would have given Donald Trump the presidency then. And that's with Joe Biden being a little bit younger, a little bit sprier, and running in a more favorable atmosphere and environment. He still kind of didn't win by that big a margin. Look, electoral vote college margin in 2020, I think it was 306 to 232. That's a little bit smaller as far as the electoral margin than Trump had this time around, which is 312 to 226. And that's with winning the popular vote by 4 percentage points. Do we really believe that Joe Biden would have came anywhere close to his performance in 2020 in this election cycle? Election day, his approval rating was at 41%. He's been hovering in the low 30s, in the high 30s to very, very low 40s for, what has it been now? 3 years? He's a very unpopular president. And this would have been a direct referendum on Joe Biden. Put it like this. Donald Trump, if he ran against Joe Biden, it's just my opinion. If he ran against Joe Biden, he would have lost every state that Kamala Harris lost in this election. Plus, I believe he would have also lost Minnesota. I think he would have also lost New Mexico. He probably would have lost New Hampshire. I think he possibly would have lost Maine. Trying to think through my head, trying to think of all the states. It's even a possibility. There's even a possibility that New Jersey and New York might have been narrowly won by Trump in this scenario. It wouldn't have been close at all. He would have got somewhere over 340 probably electoral votes. Maybe if everything went right, 360, 370. I don't think he would have got 400, but it would have been a blowout. He's absolutely delusional. I don't know, man. It is still messed up what they did to him. That it was a coup that the Democratic Party put on this guy. But then again, I don't feel sorry for them or him because, he put himself in this situation. They force-fed this candidate when there were better candidates in 2020. When I say better, I mean more physically suited for the job. I still think that the best candidate in that lot was probably Bernie Sanders, and they rigged it against him. For many years, we were reporting on social media that Joe Biden was not fit to be president. We were told it was capped. Turns out we were right. But of course, as usual, I won't get my credit for that. I don't know about many others. But anyway, it is what it is. It's bullshit. This is just some dude talking, man. Stubborn as hell. Stubborn ass old man. That's all it is. And that's all I got to say about it.